15 years ago today, the fourth episode of South Pacific, Ocean of Volcanoes, released. This episode centers on the volcanic ocean activity of the Pacific and the organisms that live on and around these volcanoes. The episode opens with Kavachi, an underwater volcano in the Solomon Islands, erupting violently. Despite being one of the most active submarine volcanoes in the world, it only erupts a few times every century. Next we travel, once again, to Hawaii. This time I'd say it's much more fitting, as Hawaii is an extremely active volcanic archipelago. We see a lava flow on Kilauea as it destroys everything in its path, including roads and cars, eventually reaching the ocean, where it slowly expands the land, as most lava is swept away and rapidly cools the ocean, but slight amounts continue the expansion of the islands. We then see recently created barren plains, which have been colonized by the Ohialehua Metrosideros polymorpha, which itself is used as food by Hawaiian honeycreepers, various members of the subfamily Carduelani. The Ohialehua are able to get their water because their powerful root zone appears into massive underground lava tubes, which have their own unique ecosystems of troglobites, or cave-dwelling animals, which survive without any light. The basis of this ecosystem is bacterial mats, which feed on minerals. Arachnophobe warning, there is a spider coming up. I will give you time to pause the video or look away or do whatever you want. But yeah, there's a spider coming up soon. And back to the video. One of the apex predators in this ecosystem is the small-eyed, big-eyed hunting spider, Delacossa anops, which ironically is blind. It feeds on small invertebrates such as earwigs, crickets, millipedes, and plant hoppers, many of whom are completely white in this lightless environment. We then return to the Galapagos, where we see a volcano erupting. Then we see the volcanic caves of the now extinct volcanoes on Isabella Island, where Galapagos penguins lay their eggs and protect their chicks. We see the adult penguins swimming and hunting. Again, back at the caves, we see a cellular-like crab, Grapsus, hunting the chicks, but, look, fortunately for the chicks, they are too big for the crab. The next segment returns to the Solomons, and we see megapodes, Megapodius eremita, or incubator birds. Megapodes are an entire family of galliforms. So these ones are specifically the Melanesian scrubfowl. They use the heat from the volcanoes to heat their buried eggs. Some scrubfowl try to steal the incubators of their peers, leading to confrontations. We return to Hawaii, this time to Mauna Kea, an extinct volcano and one of the tallest mountains in the world. It's so tall that it is snowy all year round, even in this tropical location. At the peak of Mauna Kea lives an interesting insect, a vecue bug, Nicias vecuicola, which feeds on the innards of tropical insects that get lost and freeze on the mountain. The narrator tells us of how the immense weight of Mauna Kea is causing it to sink into the ocean. We then see other mountains in the Society Islands, or Totaietema, which have similarly sunk in the distant past. Around them are massive coral reefs, some of the most diverse in the world. We see massive numbers of grey reef sharks, Carcharodonus amblyrhynchos, which hunt needlefish, and Blenny's hyads at night. But during the day, the reefs themselves are devoured by the deadly crown of thorns starfish, Acanthaster plancy. The starfish itself is hunted by the Triton's trumpet, Coronia tritonus, a giant carnivorous snail. We also see bumphead parrotfish, Bulbometapon muricatum, which feed on coral and extreme sand. Much of the sand in the Pacific came from these strange fish. The next segment takes us to the lagoon of Bora Bora, or Pora Pora, in French Polynesia, where we see Christmas tree worms, Spirobranchus giganteus, and see 2 male mandarin fish, Synchirapus splendidus, competing over a female, with the winner getting to mate. Next we see manta rays feeding on tiny creatures in the currents that are heading out of this lagoon. We then see various coral atolls, all once massive mountains, some now small, others massive. The next segment takes us to Kingman Reef, a massive completely underwater atoll which is almost entirely free of human influence. It has a massive population of giant clams, Tridacna gigas, whose dead bodies help build the reef back up above the water. Next we return to another French Polynesian island, where we see fairy terns, Sternuloneri, and blue lorikeets, Vinni peruviana, introduced there by the Polynesians. This island is also surrounded by black-tipped white sharks. We then go to Palau, or Belau, in Micronesia, where ice ages and earthquakes have exposed the massive reefs above the water and created many marine lakes, one of which, Jellyfish Lake, whose name I'm going to butcher. It's also called Ongaimil Teketau, is inhabited by massive swarms of photosynthetic jellyfish, Mastigius, Papua Etpisoni, which migrate across the lake every day following the sun. This episode's diaries segment, Galapagos Penguins on the Brink, follows the crew's attempts to find and film the Galapagos penguins, which are victims of the increasing numbers of introduced species in the Galapagos. Their equipment has to be thoroughly cleaned to avoid introduced diseases, and the penguins are also at risk due to introduced cats, Felis catus, El Nino, and avian flu. The crew eventually are able to record, for the first time ever, baby Galapagos penguins in their nests. This segment is the only time 2 other strange Galapagos inhabitants appear: Galapagos giant tortoises, Chelonoidus niger gwentheri, and marine iguanas, Amblyrhynchus cristatus. I think that this episode was probably the best so far. It stuck entirely to its established themes, and had little reuse of scenes or segments. There was almost no feature of humans in this episode. Other than that, it was really good. It was actually much better than I expected it was going to be. And if you like this video, like I like the episode, then stick around next week for the review of the 5th and my personal favourite episode of South Pacific. If you enjoyed it, also remember, if you want to, leave a like, you could maybe give us a subscribe. If you didn't like it, I guess dislike it. Goodbye.